Are you talking to me? Are you talking to me? Well, not if your name is Donald Trump, because these days he's not talking to anybody, especially after what that judge up in Manhattan did to him. What am I talking about? Hold on, folks. We're going to get into all this in just 1 second. My name is Brian Trippett. I am your front porch conservative. Step on up to my electronic front porch and let's talk. Hi, folks. Brian Trippett here, the front porch conservative, and I was wondering if I could ask for your help with something. My channel is getting really close to 1,000 subscribers. So if you're watching this video and you have not subscribed yet, please give me a sub. Also, hit the bell for notifications. I want to make sure you're always aware when new material is coming out, be it a video or a live stream. This channel is a going little concern, and I'd like to see it become a going big concern. And with that, on to the video. Late Monday evening, Manhattan Judge Juan Merchan expanded an already existing gag order against Donald Trump to include certain provisions to make sure that Trump could not go after family members of the court or the district attorney's office. So let's see what's going on with this, give a little bit of analysis and commentary, and then let you guys decide what you think about it. We start with the pages of Politico.com. Headline: Judge slaps expanded gag order on Trump after attacks on his daughter. Justice Juan Merchan expanded the existing gag order ahead of this month's hush money trial in Manhattan to cover family members of the district attorney and the judge himself. Article written by Betsy Woodruff Swan, we have the following. A New York judge has tightened restrictions on what Donald Trump can say in the lead up to his criminal trial later this month, specifically by barring the former president from attacking the family members of the district attorney and the judge himself. The move comes after Trump attacked the adult daughter of New York County Supreme Court Justice Juan Merchan, who had issued a gag order last week barring Trump from attacking court staff and prosecutors. It shows Merchan, who is presiding over Trump's first criminal trial, isn't shy about clamping down on rhetoric from Trump that he views as incendiary. Trump's trial over allegations he broke the law by paying hush money to a porn star to cover up an alleged sexual encounter with her will start in 2 weeks. Okay, let's take a look at part of Merchan's order. This is posted online, readily available. I want to go to the section that deals with discussion. Merchan writes, the defendant has a constitutional right to speak to the American voters freely and to defend himself publicly. The order issued on March 26, 2024, was narrowly tailored to protect that right. To clarify, the order did not proscribe defendant's speech as it relates to the family members of the district attorney or this court. The court now amends the March 26, 2024 order to include the family members of this court and the district attorney of New York County. This decision and order is equally narrowly tailored and in no way prevents defendant from responding to alleged political attacks, but does address defendant's recent speech. This is interesting. One day following the issuance of said order, defendant made several extrajudicial statements attacking a family member of this court. Now, I wonder who he's talking about. Contrary to the position defendant took in his opposition to the People's February 22, 2024 motion for an order restricting extrajudicial statements, i.e., that his statements, quote, plainly constitute core political speech on matters of great public concern and criticism of major public figures, defendant's opposition to 22224 motion, pages 8 and 9, this pattern of attacking family members of presiding jurists and attorneys assigned to his cases serves no legitimate purpose. Now, hold on to that phrase, folks, because we're going to come back to that. It merely injects fear in those assigned or called to participate in the proceedings that not only they, but their family members as well are, quote, fair game for defendant's vitriol. So, serves no legitimate purpose, and family members are fair game. Now, I've got a little bit of a problem with this on any number of different levels, and I think you're going to begin to understand why. Now, let me say up front, I'm going I'm not going to, well, let me put it this way. Am I going to show you every piece of speech that Donald Trump has made as it relates to this trial? No, but I'm going to give you some examples of things that he has recently posted on Truth Social. As I said, this is not the whole record. I will leave that for you to make your own determination. But I want to show you something, and I want to point out, as it relates to the family members of this court, what it is that I think Mershon is so bent out of shape about. Let's start with a post on Truth Social that goes to March 27th. This is from Donald Trump himself. Quote, Judge Juan Mershon, who is suffering from an acute case of Trump derangement syndrome, whose daughter represents crooked Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Adam Shifty Shift, and other radical liberals, has just posted a picture of me behind bars, her obvious goal, and makes it completely impossible for me to get a fair trial, has now issued another illegal, un-American, unconstitutional order as he continues to try and take away my rights. This judge, by issuing a vicious, quote, gag order, is wrongfully attempting to deprive me of my First Amendment right to speak out against the weaponization of law enforcement, including the fact that crooked Joe Biden, Merrick Garland, and their hacks and thugs are tracking and following me all over the country, obsessively trying to persecute me, while everyone knows I have done nothing wrong. Okay, that's a whole lot to unpack, but I want to go back to one part of it. Judge Juan Mershon, who's suffering from an acute case of TDS, whose daughter represents crooked Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Adam Shifty Shift, and other radical liberals. That's interesting. What else does Trump have to say about this? Well, let's go to another one. This is from March 28th. Judge Juan Mershon is totally compromised and should be removed from this Trump non-case immediately. His daughter, Lauren, is a rabid Trump hater who has admitted to having conversations with her father about me, and yet he gagged me. She works for crooked Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Adam Shifty Shift, and other radical leftists whose campaign on getting Trump and fundraise off of the Biden indictments, including this witch hunt, which her father, quote, presides over, a total conflict attacking Biden's political opponent through the courts. Former DA Cy Vance refusing to even bring this case, as did all federal agencies, including elections. All right, one last one, then we'll get into this. This is a disgrace to the legal system from March 30th of this year. Judge Mershon should be immediately sanctioned and recused, and this fake case, only kept alive by a highly conflicted judge, should be completely dismissed right away. There is no case, there is no crime. Andy McCarthy, Jonathan Turley, and other legal experts and scholars universally agree that this is a case that should have never been brought. It's a political election interfering witch hunt, just like all the other hoaxes headed up and coordinated by the DOJ against the political opponent of crooked Joe Biden in order to help get their worst president in the history of the United States reelected. Okay, so what the heck is Trump referring to about Mershon's daughter? Why is he so bent out of shape? And why is it that he believes that this is conflict of interest? Well, let me take you to an article from the New York Post, and you tell me what you guys think. Headline: Dem clients of daughter of New York judge in Trump hush money trial raised $93 million off of this case. Article written by John Levine and Rich Calder. We have the following. Two major Democrat clients of the daughter of the judge overseeing Trump's hush money trials have raised at least $93 million in campaign donations and used the case in their solicitation emails, having renewed concerns that the jurist has a major conflict of interest. Trump's attorneys are considering filing another motion demanding Manhattan Supreme Court Justice Juan Mershon recuse himself from the trial set to begin April 15th, sources said. Now, here's where it gets interesting about Mershon's daughter. Lauren Mershon is president of Authentic Campaigns, a Chicago-based progressive political consulting firm whose top clients include Representative Adam Schiff, Democrat, California, who was the lead prosecutor in Trump's first impeachment trial, and the Senate Majority PAC, a major party fundraiser. Reading a little further, Quote, authentic campaigns, and thus the judge's daughter, is actively making money from this sham attack against President Trump, rendering Judge Merchan conflicted out. Trump spokesman Stephen Chung told the Post, adding that evidence of bias is even clearer now that it was in August when Merchan rejected Trump's first recusal motion. Quote, the judge should do the right thing and immediately recuse himself in order to show the American people that the Democrats have not destroyed our judicial system completely. Him continuing to be involved in this crooked Joe Biden directed witch hunt is a complete violation of applicable rules, regulation, and ethics. All right, having set the table, let's get into this. Let me ask you guys a question. You're an observer, and you hear about a trial in town of a gentleman who is Jewish. And you come to find out from reading the news that the gentleman who is Jewish his trial is being presided over by a judge whose husband happens to be the head of the local neo-Nazi group in town. So the man, the Jewish individual, points out, hey, how is this even close to being fair? Judge slaps a gag or said, you can't talk about that. No. You're not going to talk about that. You begin to see the problem with this. Basically, the gentleman in my example, the Jewish gentleman, is trying to point out the fact to anybody who will listen to him in the court of public opinion that, hey, this judge is conflicted. Their spouse is the head of the local neo-Nazi club. How am I going to get a fair trial here? Now, after full disclosure up front, the analogy I just gave you is not original to me. I borrowed it from someone else, Lionel Nation. He was making commentary on this very subject tonight and used a brilliant analogy to explain the problem that Trump's currently having. Now, the example is extreme, I grant you, but you get the point. There's a conflict of interest that, as the defendant in this matter, Trump is trying to point out, but the judge is like, no, you can't talk about that. I just read you 3 different posts from Truth Social, and granted, I understand that's not everything Trump has probably said about this in public, and probably some of it's even more incendiary than what I'm even putting up here. I understand that. I grant you that going in. However, there is a valid point to be made here. If Donald Trump is trying to point out that this judge has a conflict of interest and is trying to show that and get people talking about it and get the court of public opinion to looking at this, does he not have the right to do so? And how can a judge slap down or clamp down on his ability to speak, thereby depriving him of his First Amendment right? Well, I'm not the only person who's coming to this conclusion. There are other people who are thinking the same thing, one of them being the legendary Jonathan Turley. Take a look at this. This is an article that he wrote for his website. The gag and the goad. Trump should appeal the latest gag order. And Turley goes on to talk about it, but I want to go to the last part of this article to point out something. Turley says, my opposition to past gag orders was based on the constitutional right of defendants to criticize their prosecutions. Courts have gradually expanded both the scope and the use of such orders. It has gone from being relatively rare to commonplace. However, the use of the gag order to gag the leading candidate for the presidency in the final months of the campaign only magnifies those concerns. And by the way, keep in mind, Jonathan Turley is no fan of Donald Trump politically. He'll tell you up front he's not fond of him. And matter of fact, he's said on more than one occasion, didn't vote for him. But let's go back to the article. There is a division on courts in dealing with such challenges involving politicians. For example, a court struggled with those issues in the corruption trial of Representative Harold E. Ford Sr., Democrat of Tennessee. A district court barred Ford from making, quote, extrajudicial statements that a reasonable person would expect to be disseminated by means of public communication, end of quote, including criticism of the motives of the government or the basis, merits, or evidence of the prosecution. The United States Court of Appeals for the Sixth Circuit rejected the gag order as overbroad and stressed that any such limits on free speech should be treated, quote, as presumptively void and may be upheld only on the basis of a clear showing that an exercise of First Amendment rights will interfere with the rights of the parties to a fair trial. This order allows for criticism of the case and both of Mershon and Bragg. However, you have key figures like Cohen and Matthew Colangelo, who are already central figures in this political campaign. In Cohen's case, he is actively engaged in a campaign to block Trump politically and has done countless interviews on this case as part of the legal campaign. While courts routinely rubber stamp such orders, and Trump's history will reinforce the basis of Mershon's order, I would still try to appeal it. The odds always run against challenging such orders, and appellate courts are disinclined to review such orders. However, there is a legitimate free speech concern raised by this order that should be reviewed by a higher court. And for what it's worth, I absolutely agree with Turley on this. Look, you can like Donald Trump, you can not like Donald Trump, that's fine. But I recommend be very, very careful of what's going on here. Right now, there's probably people who are cheering on the fact, yeah, Mershon, shut him down, shut him up. Okay, be very careful because that street travels both ways. Criticize Donald Trump today, say he doesn't have a right to speak out how he feels he needs to defend himself in the court of public opinion and possibly help himself in a court of law. But the day may very well come when you find yourself in similar situation, and then you're realizing, oh crap, the monster that I helped create has now come back to try to destroy me. So let's keep an eye on this thing. This case starts April 15th. This is going to get real interesting real quick. But that's what I have to say about it. What do you think? As we start to wrap up this video, please do me some favors as always. Number one, if you're not a subscriber to my channel, please do so. Number two, please hit the bell for notifications. I want to make sure you're always aware when new material is coming out, be it a video or a live stream. Number three, please leave a comment below. I'd love to know what you think about all this. Number four, share the video around. And finally, give me a thumbs up. My name is Brian Trippett. I am your Front Porch Conservative, and I will see you next time.